Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to WWEP. I'm going to be changing the name of the show to the Wild Wrestling Entertainment Podcast for a couple of reasons. First off, I wasn't able to do this weekly just after the first episode, which I feel really bad about because I had fallen sick and stuff like that, and I know there's no excuse in that sense, but I want to still present to you a lot of things, but I want to make it wild. I really want to get down to the meat of a lot of things, rant about some things a little more, talk about some things a little more, delve as deep as I can. And what I really want to talk about right now is the recent event that happened in Tokyo, Japan, Beast in the East. And it was a WWE live event that was showcased in Tokyo, Japan. They tend to do live events around America more so than anything else, but they have one, especially this for the 4th of July. It was at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I mean, okay, I get it. It's halfway across the world, so you can't have a better time. It was live on the WWE Network, which I would still recommend getting if you're a big fan. And the event itself, however, had its pluses and had its absolute minuses. Let's go chronologically. The first match was Chris Jericho and Neville, a match that lasted over 15 minutes, which was actually a really entertaining match. I mean, either one of them could have won. I was thinking Jericho might win because he had a lot of wrestling experience in Japan. Neville could have won to put him over, and Jericho's done that before. However, you know, Jericho, like I said, has trained a lot in Japan, so in order to appease the fans, they sort of let him win. I get it. It's been a long time since he's been there, but since he's not wrestling as consistently with the WWE, I felt like it would have been more fair to let Neville win. That's besides the point. It was still a great match. It was a great contest between the two, and definitely did showcase the fact that both of the people are great wrestlers. Even though Neville lost, he was certainly maybe put over with the crowd just a little bit more. Moving on, of course, there was the Divas match. That was actually a pretty good triple threat. It lasted a little bit longer than most Divas matches, I would say. And definitely an entertaining match. Nikki Bella is still the champion. I feel like there's something about the Divas division in terms of where it's heading that I'm going to get to in a moment. The third match, which was the absolute showcased match, was Brock Lesnar, one of my favorite wrestlers out there, in his third match of the year. Third match of the year. You had Royal Rumble in Jan, you had WrestleMania 31 in March, and then this 4th of July, Beast in the East. And now he's going to be fighting at Battleground July 19th. And they made him go up against Kofi Kingston, which was a bit confusing to some. Sure, Kofi is a great wrestler. He has a lot of titles to his name, but don't get me wrong. Is he a threat to the Beast just as yet? Should you have put him up against someone like Cesaro, have a strong, heavy, awesome match? Because we've seen Cesaro lately just going up against people like Owens and Cena and almost picking up the win. And I felt like that would have been a much greater match, come to think of it. However, they put him up against Kofi Kingston. I sort of got the idea, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense because they want to show Brock Lesnar beat the living hell out of Kofi Kingston. Fine. And then the New Day members come, and he F5s them a couple of times, and it's done. And it was just a short thing. It was less than 5 minutes of the Beast for an event called Beast in the East, which is something that kind of gets under my nerves for a second. I was expecting a little bit more Brock Lesnar. I would have loved a little bit more Brock Lesnar, but there wasn't. And therefore, you know, I'm a little bit sad about that. I will admit that those 2 minutes, though, those 3 German suplexes, 2 F5s, straight to the pin. It was crazy just watching him demolish Kingston. But it was a match that was unnecessary. That's the point. You could have, if you're getting a man to fight 3 times in 7 months almost, or in 6 or 7 months, you make him fight the matches that you need him to fight. Do not. Booking a match like this was good. You get a very interesting combination, and it would have done wonders even for Kofi in Japan, but I'm a little bit disappointed that they put him up against Kofi Kingston because of the fact that a longer match would have been nice, a more competitive match would have been nice for an event called Beast in the East. Moving on, there was what I would say is the match of the night, Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. Finn Balor, for those of you who don't know, is an NXT wrestler. He usually drowns himself in makeup before certain big matches of his. And this was a title match that actually had a title change. Kevin Owens lost the NXT title that he's been holding for quite some time. And It was actually good to see. It was a bit of a surprise to some because you would not think that at a live event there would be a title change. However, it makes sense going to Battleground. Kevin Owens is going to face Cena, and I'm 100% sure Owens has got that match. It's going to be the final match between him and Cena, and he's going to be the new United States champion, which I think is very important for Owens just to kickstart his career, to maybe give Cena a break from being champion. He's been champion for almost 4 months now. And it would definitely make a lot of interesting feuds up in the future that Kevin Owens could have. This match, though, was fantastic. It was an absolute fight. And Finn Balor, of course, was part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and therefore to have him win is definitely something very important, again, to appease the crowd. The main event, John Cena and Dolph Ziggler versus Kane and King Barrett. Now, you tend to see a lot of WWE live events have a similar looking main event. It's a tag team match. Cena will team up with someone like Ziggler or Ryback, if you will, versus the other tag team, which consists of one beast and then another heel that has a whole bunch of, say, more agile skills. Barrett doesn't jump off the top rope as much, but say a Seth Rollins. And you'd see someone like either Rusev or Kane really take on Cena and his partner, and it was a great match. Although I felt like it did stretch itself off too long, it definitely showcased, of course, Cena. We know he's one of the best out there, but it really managed to give Ziggler a chance to show his fighting spirit, to give him more time. And considering the recent rumors that he might not be returning with the WWE just as yet, might be a very important match. Might be a way of saying, you know what, Ziggler, we believe in you. We want to give you a 20-something minute match, and we want you to showcase that you are, you know, one of the fighters, one of the good faces, and a future champion, perhaps. And looking at this match as a whole, or this event as a whole, I mean, I have to say I was pleased with most of the matches, although I think the Finn Balor Kevin Owens match was definitely the highlight for me. I do, however, feel that there were a few wasted opportunities. Of course, with Brock Lesnar, I think maybe the tag team match could have showcased someone else. Of course, you have to have Cena at the event, I get that. But maybe, you know, instead of Kane, maybe putting a slightly younger guy there, maybe having Neville win would have been nice. But, you know, all in all, there was still a lot of things to love about this event. I was definitely a fan. I definitely enjoyed the event as a whole. And that's what I have to say about Beast in the East. Let's also quickly recap what's been happening over the past few weeks on Raw and SmackDown leading up to Battleground. Some interesting developments in a lot of the storylines, and the one before I get to the one I absolutely hate in a moment, I do have to say there's been a weird contrast. There's been more in-your-face of PG-era stuff happening right now, and yet slightly more attitude-era things. There's been, it's weird. There's cat fights, and then there's Apple Watches, and then there's these incredibly dark threats versus these incredibly nice compliments and jokes that are made backstage. And there's a weird contrast, but I feel like there was also that one beating that Dean Ambrose gave to Jamie Noble at the end of SmackDown. That was brilliant, and I think that, yeah, there are some bits of contrast that we're witnessing right now. We're seeing the WWE taking a few more risks, doing a few things they haven't done in a while, and that's good to see, of course. However, I do hope that they can maybe pick that up a little bit more, try and keep it more consistent, because you look at some of the other things happening, and this is one thing I'm absolutely not a fan of. You take a look at the Ziggler, Lana, Rusev storyline, and they're playing it out very simply, minus that catfight bit, which is more of an Attitude Era thing, but like it seems very on the surface played out. And how the hell and why the hell is Summer Rae even a part of it? Don't get me wrong, Summer Rae's a good wrestler, she's up and coming, she's probably a future Divas champion, but it was so out of the blue. This whole storyline is ridiculous. Trust me, the thing is, Lana literally just went up to Ziggler at first. And okay, she did admit that she was trying to get back at Rusev, so she did that, so it does make some sense now. Back then it felt very random when she just went into the ring and kissed him. And then Summer Rae just goes to Rusev and says she's not worth it, and I don't necessarily feel like it's very natural, like she actually is motivated to go this far. However, I will say that an eventual Rusev-Ziggler match would be pretty awesome to watch at a pay-per-view, but I think we're going to have to wait maybe till SummerSlam for that. Maybe it's a way of transitioning Lana onto the roster as a fighter. That would be really interesting. But so far, this is probably my least favorite storyline going on at this point in time. Moving on, however, I do want to talk about the Bray Wyatt-Roman Reigns storyline. I feel like this getting more interesting. He introduced his daughter into it for a bit. And Bray Wyatt really knows how to cut promos. He's so charismatic when he's on screen, and I love watching that. And if you look at the people as in-ring performance, you have the horrifying Bray Wyatt with his eyes that really express a lot, and Roman Reigns, who is absolutely, without a doubt, over the past couple of months, has elevated himself to being the most fiery and explosive man in the ring. I definitely think that it's going to be a match to remember. Definitely better to say than like the Ryback-Wyatt rivalry that seemed a bit forced at WWE Payback, which was earlier in May. I feel that this storyline will actually play out a lot longer with the 5-week gap between pay-per-views. However, I do feel that some storylines have been introduced too quick. And I'm worried that over the next couple of weeks, they're going to stretch it out, because I'm not 100% sure where they're going to make this go now. Wyatt beat Ambrose, which shocked me for a minute. I mean, yeah, you know, everyone loses once in a while, and it makes sense. You're going to see every match from now on that Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt have leading up to the pay-per-view. They are either going to win or they're going to lose by some faulted means. They're not going to cleanly lose because they're trying to show the crowd that these two men are fighters. And these two men are ready to go and push the envelope, push the boundary. And that they are good wrestlers, which I definitely think they are. And I definitely feel like this match could be great. Roman Reigns as well has been fighting a lot. And he was in one match that is absolutely like main event pay-per-view quality. And they had it on SmackDown, just a mid-card match. But it was still such an intense match. Roman Reigns and Sheamus is a match that needs to happen for the WWE World Heavyweight Champion down the line somewhere, because that match was brilliant. And those two are amongst my personal favorites. They're both very well-built men. They both pose a threat physically and in terms of their performance. They fight. They push through. Well, Sheamus, for the most part, fights. He does exit the ring once in a while, we've seen. But when it comes to him needing to fight, he will fight. He's got that Celtic warrior in him. And these two men will have one hell of a clash. And I would love to see that happen. So those are a couple of the non-title related storylines. Let's take a look at some of the titles. Of course, we're really seeing Titus O'Neil and Darren Young being elevated further and further, defeating the Ascension a couple of times, teaming up with Neville, having that 8-man tag with the Lucha Dragons and the Primetime Players against the New Day and Bo Dallas. I feel like after Primetime Players win, they're going to win again maybe at SummerSlam. Post that, I feel like the Lucha Dragons are the next champions. I don't know, I feel like they're getting a lot of importance lately, and they're going to be the ones to take the titles from the Primetime Players. The Intercontinental Championship hasn't had much of a development in terms of the storyline, I guess. I mean, we saw Ryback. This is the one weird thing. We saw Ryback shell shock the Big Show already. Way too early, I think. Before their match at the previous pay-per-view Money in the Bank, I think, yeah. But the problem is now, when you have him on Raw or SmackDown, and he's having difficulty shell-shocking a man that weighs about 50 pounds less, it doesn't seem as believable. That's Mark Henry I'm talking about. And okay, he might have injured his back, which I hope is not true, because those can be very dangerous in the WWE or the pro wrestling or anything physically related at all. But still, I feel like that moment of him shell-shocking the Big Show, that's the big guy, Ryback, shell-shocking the Big Show, should have been done or saved for a pay-per-view to be a potential highlight of the night kind of moment. That hasn't been done yet, and it's unfortunate because, I mean, it would have been a great moment. Nonetheless, you know, I still feel like there will be a great match, and I have this weird feeling that The Miz in that triple threat is going to steal the title. He's going to do something. There's no disqualifications. He is going to take that title home. I guarantee it. United States Championship. Taking a look at the current storyline. Owens and Cena still going at it. The Open Challenge presented Cesaro to both these men. Owens won clean, and here's the thing. There have been two men now that have almost beaten Cena, that are on the verge of winning against Cena, either making him pin or submit. But there's been an interference earlier by Rusev and then now by Kevin Owens. That's Adrian Neville. That was in the past after he red arrowed Cena, and Cesaro right now. That's what I'm saying. Cesaro is such a great fighter to watch. I love watching him in the ring. I absolutely enjoy the hell out of watching Cesaro in the ring. And I feel like the WWE hasn't done enough with him just as yet. It's unfortunate Tyson Kidd, his partner, his tag team partner, has undergone neck surgery and everything. And you know, I wish him all the best. But I just want to see at this point in time that Cesaro has an opportunity to rise on his own. That they really take this opportunity and, you know, exact out its full potential. Make it go all the way and make Cesaro be a champion. That would be incredible. Because Cesaro, in my eyes, is one of the best, especially one of those with untapped potential. Moving on, the Divas Championship, of course, is going to have Nikki Bella and Paige going at it once again. I feel like Nikki Bella is not going to lose just as yet. There's going to be more of a setup for something that I'm going to get to in a moment. Because I think they're going to want Nikki Bella to beat AJ Lee's record of one of the longest running Divas champion of all time. And then maybe Paige will win. And Paige is definitely going to win this title eventually. She's fought too hard to not win. And the crowd loves her as well. But what I'm actually really interested in seeing is where they're taking the Divas division slowly. As you see Alicia Fox not just side with the Bellas, but wear a t-shirt that says Team Bella. That's a bit of a sign. That's a bit of a sign for what's known as a stable in WWE, of course. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the term. And soon enough, I think this stable is going to expand. This stable is going to expand and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Potentially Tamina Snuka, Naomi, Cameron, Natalya, they're all going to pick a side between the Bellas and Paige. And this also gives WWE a chance to let their NXT Divas be a part of it. Because the NXT Divas storyline, people like Becky Lynch, they are kicking ass, or kicking lass if you're a Becky Lynch fan. I hope I got that right. I'm sorry. But the point is, at Survivor Series, which I get is still 4 months away, they could maybe even it's been a while, but for the first time at least in a while, have a Divas like showdown, like, you know, the traditional tag team matches they have at Survivor Series, like a 5-on-5, 6-on-6 Divas showdown. That would be awesome. And finally, let's take a look at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Rollins, of course, the champion. The Authority beat the shit out of Brock Lesnar the other day, which was incredible to see. I mean, incredible because it's unexpected. And Lesnar is going to become the champion at Battleground once again. I feel like the Authority is going to come in, but there's going to be some interesting storyline thing play out. There's a few things that have potential that I want to get to. Okay, first off, all this product placement with the Apple Watch and the Cadillac. I understand it's a business, but it's really too much. It is really too much. It's good to see the Authority back, however. And Kane is going to take this trip to Hawaii. And Ambrose sort of starting to build up the fact that, you know, Kane could be the big red machine. It's interesting because Ambrose doesn't have a match at Battleground yet. Reigns has Wyatt. Rollins has Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship, WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But Ambrose, one of the most popular men working today in the WWE, does not have a match yet. And I want to see what they do with him, because I'm pretty sure they're going to book him for something eventually, and I get the feeling, or at least the most likely match he has is against Kane. This trip to Hawaii could potentially be something that could influence his character. You never know. It could just be an added detail for no reason. But I hope, and I'm waiting, that if not by Battleground, then by SummerSlam, the Big Red Machine is back. And he comes back with a vengeance, destroys, becomes the champion again, or takes something for himself. He was bullied by Seth Rollins so much. I mean, it's crazy how he allowed that to happen. But eventually, I feel like the Big Red Machine is going to come back, and I'm hoping it's soon. I'm hoping it's very soon, because we've seen a lot of great returns lately. Even, one other thing, I digress, but at the WWE live event, those unaired events, Bo Dallas was doing his whole Bo Dallas-y thing, making everyone believe, and, just the crowd was not buying it. The Rock showed up. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson showed up to Boston, obviously pleased the fans who paid a big or small buck for their ticket and made it incredibly worthwhile. Rock bottomed him and set the house on fire. I mean, it's little surprises like that the WWE manages to execute and really please the fans. Lately, I want to address one thing. Earlier this year, first quarter, speaking financially, of course, there were a few things that I will admit I was not a fan of, just the way things were playing out backstage. Some of the storylines were whatever, and then it picked up. Extreme Rules got incredible, probably the best pay-per-view of the year. Payback was great. Elimination Chamber was awesome. Even Money in the Bank was pretty good. Granted, we haven't seen as much of Sheamus as I'd like, or Randy Orton for that matter. I feel like Sheamus and Orton could be a match. Nonetheless, we're starting to see them resurge and pick themselves up again. There have been a few unfortunate things they've had to face over the past couple of years. Of course, the departure of Punk might have been a bit hard on them because he was one of the best at the time, or the best in the world, as he calls himself. And the recent departure of Daniel Bryan would have affected a couple of their storylines, which is unfortunate because, again, Daniel Bryan is one of the faces of the company. Something I'm going to be talking about in maybe my next episode, about the faces of the WWE. Interesting segue how I did that. But ultimately, looking at Battleground, we have a match for the World Heavyweight Championship, United States Championship, Intercontinental Triple Threat, Divas Championship match, Tag Team Championship rematch. That's 5. Reigns and Wyatt. So 6 matches. Usually we look at 1 pre-show match and 7 matches in the pay-per-view. So there are 2 matches up for grabs. So you could potentially see Sheamus and Orton fighting it off, maybe for the Money in the Bank briefcase, which Sheamus is not going to and should not lose by any means, because they've said that there's an interesting storyline that they wanted to play out from the past, with Sheamus being the Money in the Bank winner, that they didn't because Rollins came in and they had the authority idea. But this storyline is supposed to be kick-ass if the rumors are true, and I would love to see it happen. And that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening in. I've been a bit quicker today, and I did miss out last week. Of course, I was incredibly sick. However, I want to keep this up as often as possible. There are a lot of new developments happening, a lot of other topics I want to talk about. I was doing research on the Montreal Screwjob recently, something I missed out on. I wasn't old enough at the time to check out WWE, but, just a lot of things I want to talk about here and there. And I'm a fan. I hope you're a fan. If you're a fan, subscribe. This is a podcast that's going to be more frequent, hopefully. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on things going on in general. Who's your favorite superstar? Do you think Ambrose needs to be in a match at Battleground, or he can get a bit of a break till SummerSlam? And all of that. Then, now, forever.